From the City of Angels, you are listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On this week's episode, we are going to talk about the movies and TV shows of 2021 and give our review. So let's strike the music and we'll get on to it.
Engage.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
And welcome to the James Salazar Media Podcast. I am your host, James Salazar, aka The Media. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone is focused, purposed in the new year to do crazy shit, to do epic shit, to push the boundaries this year that you did farther than what you did last year. I believe in you. I believe you can do it. So, yeah. Joe Biden called a reporter a stupid son of a bitch. Pretty funny. Pretty old man curmudgeon. Get off my lawn shit. I still laughed. But you know, the age of civility is going, and the president's approval rates are lower than any president in recent history, way lower than Donald Trump's, and Donald Trump's were pretty low. Only half the country liked him, so we can assume from this that less than half the country likes him. There are Democrats running for cover who are running for office, and there's actually like quite a bit who decided that they're not going to run. They don't want to be beat because of Joe Biden's disastrous policies and his inability to defend him with any cogent answer. I mean, like Barack Obama, though I didn't like a lot of things that he did, you know, he would fight back if someone tried to, you know, he had a rebuttal. Joe Biden doesn't have any good rebuttals. You know what? I don't feel sorry for this guy anymore because there's clearly better people, but they went with him, and he's tried to be president like 3 or 4 times now, and he took this unique opportunity where the people of America were not happy with the president that we had, and he threw his hat in, and he didn't campaign. He hid, and he used a plan knowing that the opposition was going to put his foot in his mouth, and it worked out for him. But he took this job knowing that he was in cognitive decline. But he had a chance to stamp his legacy. But his legacy will be as one of the most inept, worst presidents in American history. He had a good legacy being the vice president of the first black president. But he pushed too far than he should have. And now he's going to be one of the worst presidents, one of the biggest jokes ever. And he deserves it. And he deserves it one bit. And I don't feel sorry for him. All he wanted was the presidency. That's all. He just wanted to have that in his back pocket, a part of his legacy. He kept on trying and failing, and in the perfect storm where he probably could win, all he needed to do was shut up and hide. And he got in, even though he knew he had cognitive decline. He knows he's not all there anymore. And now he has one of the worst first years of a president, lowest ratings ever. The world does not respect us anymore by the things we have done. He has not done anything to fix inflation, but actually implementing ideas that exacerbated it. The border's a disaster. He will go down. as one of the worst presidents, and I'm happy for that, because ego shouldn't trump principles. He should have just sat down. But they knew he was the only person out of those Democrats who could beat Donald Trump. For them, it was a victory. For him, his legacy will be shit, and he deserves it. That's how I feel about that. And that's all the politics I'm going to talk about today. Let's get into the TV shows that I'm going to recover some TV shows that I often cover and movies, and give you my opinions of how they did this year, and some new TV shows and new movies and what I thought of them. So let me put out my notes right here. Okay. So the first one, The Witcher. Witcher is a TV show done by Netflix with Henry Cavill, the star, Superman, what he's best known for. And this is the second season where Geralt of Riverdale or something, Rivier. In the first season, a kingdom that he was visiting asked for some help, and he didn't want to give it. And there's something called a something surprise. I don't remember exactly what it is. And you do this. If you ask this of a witcher, which is like a created witch by humans to battle monsters. If you say this to the witcher, they have to obey. But it sets like a spiritual force, and there's a price you're going to pay. You may not pay it now, but you'll pay it down in the future. Well, the first season, they work all that out, and at the end of it, their daughter is promised to the Witcher. He doesn't really care. But now that he feels that there's a problem, that she might be in danger, he tries to rectify the situation. That's the first season. Now she's with him. All her family is dead and lost her kingdom. And we are now into the second season. The second season is basically based on, and here's some spoilers, that this girl has special powers, prophetic, given by a prophecy, and she has the ability to open different dimensions, sort of sci-fi, and allow aliens, monsters to come that are so powerful that give the witchers a hard time, which witchers can usually handle monsters on their own, but these monsters need to be handled by a couple of witchers and to be defeated. The first season was very complicated. The second season was less complicated, and it's put the Witcher and the girl in a situation where they can stay in one place, because they're traveling a lot in the first one. So it was a much simpler. There's a lot more monster fighting in this one. Character development is not so big in this one because they were all developed in the first one. We definitely meet new people in the second one. But overall, it was very entertaining. The story was good. It went into how witches are made. And they lost that ability, and the girl can give them that ability back, which is a very nice segue to other storylines. But overall, I like The Witcher second season better than I liked the first season. I'm probably going to have to watch the first season again because I was just there was a lot of information coming in the first season, and it wasn't so prevalent in the second season, so I was able to follow a simple storyline. Because these are, 20 books or something like that, the Witcher series. But it was very anticipated by people who have Netflix to watch The Witcher, and overall, I thought it was fun. The purists always have problem with it because they read the books, and I have not been privileged to read the books, nor do I take the time to do that when it comes to The Witcher series. But so far, all the characters came back for the second season, and they all play a significant role in this girl's life now. And we're at a very interesting situation where the typical trope of like the Nazgul in the Lord of the Rings, these human, like demon-like characters riding on horses, just like the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and they go to this different dimension, and this group of riders that look like demons are now going to be after her because they sense her power. So overall, I will give The Witcher second season out of 5 potatoes 4. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Spider-Man. The movie just came out. And here's some major spoilers. Leaving, if you haven't watched it, in 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're into it. So Spider-Man, the new movie, I think it's called No Way Home. You know, Doctor Strange guest stars. And as we know, if you haven't watched the second one, Spider-Man's identity is revealed. Peter Parker, everybody knows Peter Parker is the Spider-Man. And a whole host of problems come knowing this information, the whole society knowing this information. There's no peace, there's no sleep, there's constantly being bombarded, and some people are disgruntled and whatever. You know, a lot of people, want to start to attack Spider-Man, and they think he killed a good guy in the second movie, which was not, as we are privileged as the people watching from the screen. We know that's not true. So this is the situation we walk into in the beginning of the movie. And then Spider-Man goes to Doctor Strange and says, hey, can you change this reality? That maybe these people don't know who I am. He tries to do a spell. Peter Parker sort of screws it up a little bit, and it opens up dimensions of all Spider-Man's enemies. So the cool thing about this movie is that, we have the Tobey Maguire, and we had the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and we have the Tom Holland Spider-Man, the one that we're in right now. And we got all the villains from each one of them. So we get Dr. Ox, we get the Green Goblin, we get Sandman. That's from Tobey Maguire's. We get the Alligator from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and we have and then we get Jamie Foxx, sort of like a guy who can control electricity. They all come back, and Spider-Man finds a way to send them, but he realizes that they're all dead in their universes, and he doesn't want them to go back dead. And because of that, shit happens. And it was nice seeing. There's definitely better actors than others, and William Dafoe is always amazing. And but everybody else was okay when it comes to the villain. Dr. Ox had a big role. The character Dr. Octopus is And in the Tobey Maguire's 3 movies, Doctor Octopus is the second movie is the best one, I think. And the Andrew Garfield ones, I don't know. I was still in the mindset that why are they doing this? They still have Tobey Maguire. Why don't we just build on the story? So I really didn't give him a chance. And so I did watch those movies. And Jamie Foxx's character seems just to not thought out well enough. It just didn't buy it. But he comes back in this one. And there's a couple of things I didn't like about it, because in Tom Holland's Spider-Man's world, the one where the Avengers live, that guy who can harness power, Jamie Foxx's, who can harness electricity, steals the arc reactor that Iron Man used to hold. This unlimited source of power he created. And they did some silly stuff with it, because in reality, that is so much power. Someone who can manipulate that arc reactor power would be close to unbeatable. You would need like a Thor to beat him, a major alien type of superhero. And what should have went down once Jamie Foxx's character got that arc reactor inside him, he could have obliterated everybody off, and the big fights at the Statue of Liberty, which was cool. He was powerful enough to evaporate that whole statue and everybody on it fighting around it. So he got it. He got more powerful, but he should have gotten way more powerful with Tony Stark's unlimited power source that was keeping his heart alive, which survived the snap of the Infinity Stones. So I digress. So to compact all these aliens from different dimensions by different Spider-Mans, they bring in the other 2 Spider-Mans. Now, when I watched this, I had two different things. I thought Andrew Garfield was overacting, and I felt Tobey Maguire's was totally underacting, was not moved by anything he did. So at the end of the day, I was laughing more, and I was giving my attention more to Andrew Garfield's character than Tobey Maguire's character, who I traditionally liked better. And which were both okay. And now I have settled down that though Andrew Garfield's character seems to have more of an emotional, heartfelt authenticity to his Spider-Man, where his emotions on his edge. And as you know, if you watch those movies, you know, Tobey Maguire saves Mary Jane, but Andrew Garfield's character loses his love in those 2 movies. Andrew Garfield. Sorry, I keep on saying Andrew Garfield. Andrew Lincoln, I keep on saying by accident. I think it was from The Walking Dead. I digress. So I was really impressed, and I think everybody else was, because we're seeing Andrew Garfield's character getting written a 3rd movie. But at the end of the day, I like Tom Holland's character the best. I don't know if his sidekicks are good, and Zendaya and the other kid. I think they got to do something with them. And I think they're doing something with his overweight friend, token minority friend. And that could be interesting. But I like Tom Holland's character. He has more depth. He's done more things. He's fought in other planets. So overall, the movie was entertaining. And I enjoyed it. And out of 5 potatoes, I give it 4. So that's what I thought of Spider-Man No Way Home. So I'm taking a little long, I feel. So there's always supplemental courses, supplemental movies or television shows done by, let me scratch all that. Disney is now producing Marvel TV shows and Star Wars TV shows. And the first one of the year was Loki. Now, Loki was great. Automatic. I felt like I was still in the Marvel universe that I have enjoyed for the last 10 years. And the development of Loki's character and growth in this offshoot of reality is great. I don't want to ruin it for you, but I give Loki 5 potatoes. It sets up the next what's going to happen next in the next 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and so does Spider-Man, and so will the next Doctor Strange. There's something that's going on with different realities being opened up, and you get a lot of answers in Loki, and you will get a lot of answers in the Spider-Man. This went out, and a lot of answers will be made definitely in the next Doctor Strange, the multiverse of madness. So we're looking forward to that this year. But Loki was excellent, and it sort of warms you up to this multiverse. And that is 5 potatoes for me. That is 5 potatoes to me. And we'll continue on with The Mandalorian. Mandalorian's second season was very awesome. I think you probably, if you were on the internet, and here comes some spoilers, if you don't know what The Mandalorian's about, it's about this guy who is supposed to whack a little fuzzy ball, Yoda ball of magic, and he doesn't do it. He sort of likes the kid, and the kid sort of shows his powers, and Baby Yoda is called, and a lot of people are trying to kill him. Sort of the same thing happens in the second season, but this time the Imperial forces have caught up with them, and so there's a lot of and we see the interjection of Boba Fett back into the Star Wars universe after he falls into that hole in Return of the Jedi. And he helps out because I guess he's sort of a Mandalorian but doesn't really follow their rules. And great season, interesting storylines, but at the end there's like a big reveal. And I'm going to reveal it in 1, 2, if you haven't watched it, better, 3. So they're being overwhelmed by mighty forces. They're stuck into like an Imperial cruiser, small one, and this guy who is the bad guy sends up his super robots to come save him because the good guys got him. And these robots easily are going to kill everybody and save this bad guy. Up until an X-Wing fighter comes in. And who does it happen to be? Luke Skywalker. Now, this was a big reveal. I mean, this brought me back and everybody who watches back to the old, genuine Star Wars. The ones in the 70s and the 80s. Once you saw Luke Skywalker, you got giddy. You got happy. You got emotional. You felt it. Put you back in that place that you were before. And yeah, they brought Luke Skywalker back to save the baby Yoda and to train him because he has Jedi powers. So that ending, though it was like a 4, 3.5, 4, but that ending was so surprising and so risky, and it's something somebody who's not a part of any corporation would do, but they went for it, and they brought Luke Skywalker back, a digital version of him, but it looks pretty good, to save the day. So that makes it 5 potatoes for me for The Mandalorian season 2. Now we got this Star Trek Discovery. And we're in their 4th season. And we're in a mid-season break. And I was very disappointed with the last season that all the dilithium made every ship that had dilithium that they used for warp travel blew up every ship for some reason, and it just happened to be some adolescent alien who couldn't control his emotions or his thought, and that's why all the dilithium blew up, which is a shitty story. And I could have wrote something way better. And there's so much in the Star Trek canon. I mean, the premise is cool. Like, what? Nobody can do warp travel because every time you use dilithium, it'll blow up and something happen in the whole galaxy. Wow, that's a very interesting problem. And the payoff of that was the worst payoff. It was stupid and very disappointing. But because of all that, the famed Commander Burnham, Michael Burnham, which is a girl, African-American girl, she's always a loose cannon. She always believes the extreme. She always has this gut instinct, and she will bet on her gut instinct at every moment, and she will do the most radical thing. It's costed her command. It sent her to jail. It costed a lot of problems for her, but she ended up being right all the time. But now she's the captain of the ship Discovery, and she is boring as fuck. She doesn't do anything interesting. She is actually the opposite. She's trying to stop people from doing something that they feel in their gut that they should do, which she would have just ran over or just manipulated to get done. So we're now, the story wasn't that interesting. It seemed like some kind of trope. There's some big anomaly that's destroying stuff, and it's like, you're not going to bother to answer it. But at the end of the mid-season finale, we find out that it is created by a different, probably an alien race, and they're going to go try find that out. So hopefully it gets better. But as for right now, it's at a 2 potatoes. I still watch it because I like the Star Trek universe, and I like the pomp and circumstances of the military mindset and discovery of new aliens and all that. But the one thing I found interesting was Commander Burnham's ability to risk her own career to do what she thinks is right. So right now we're at a 2.5 potato. Hopefully it gets better. Now, Lost in Space. that came back this year, the final season. I thought it was fun. It sort of gets confusing about the before you watch. I don't know if you're watching the first and second and third season. You have to watch the third season to get what's happening in the fourth season, because there's so many robots. One's robot that's more self-aware. There's one robot that that's friends with what's the kid's name? Will. And then we got the killer one, and I find it. I needed to watch the one before that because I couldn't get them all straight in my head and their storylines because so much has happened. But overall, they tied the storyline good. They got the aliens to realize that they don't need to destroy shit. Basically, you don't need to do it no more. And that the evil and the good ones were all the same. It was just a sort of a stand down protocol, and it had to come about through some kind of connection with humans. It was weird, but overall, the dynamic between all the characters, the sci-fi and the graphics and the adventures that they go on in this last season was good. And they end up tying the story up. They finally get to the place where it's basically their new Earth. That's where they try to been getting to for the last 4 seasons. And they do it. And it ends on a high note. And it ends on a note that ends, which is pretty... I liked it. So I'll give it... Overall, the whole series, since it's gone, I'll give the whole series 4.5 potatoes, and I'll give the last season for an even 4 potatoes. I liked how they tied it off. I felt every character finally got their growth. You really couldn't go move it beyond. And it felt like when we were watching it in the beginning, I felt like, where's the growth in these characters? Where can they grow even more? And they did. There was little growth, but those growths were good enough to satisfy that you felt they were going to be okay. And I appreciated that. Tying off a story clean, optimistic. So that's my rating for that. Afterlife. Afterlife is basically these people on a ship trying to get to this alien people who are supposedly supposed to help them, and they're supposed to meet them in space. But so many troubles happen, and it's one problem after the other. But the problems are compelling, and how they get out of them are compelling. It keeps you watching. They finally, in the last season, they're still tackling situations, but they finally end the story, and they end the story in a good way. And but if you haven't watched Afterlife, it's very fun to watch because it's one catastrophe and fixing it, and one catastrophe after that. And it's good writing just to see it happen. It sort of feels like 24. If you remember 24, if you watch Jack Bauer in the the first show of one season all the way to the 26th episode in that season, Jack Bauer has literally almost have died like 17 times. Has literally averted a disaster about 16 times. It's like, and the story goes way where you thought it was going this way, it goes a different way. This is why I love 24. It's one of the best shows ever. They kept on doing it, and like anything, you jump the shark, it becomes too much. But the first 5 seasons, pretty dope. And and it feels like this. It feels like 24 in space to me, without there being like a police, but it's about like problems with the ship, and problem with the crew, and problems with all kinds of stuff, constantly handling a problem. And you're like, how are they going to get out of this situation? So overall, I definitely give Afterlife 5 potatoes. I loved it. So I suggest you watch that. And it comes to a conclusion. One of the pet peeves, you want to start something. Like, what was I starting right now? I started a show called Hellstorm about these kids who were these twins that were born with like demon-like powers, but it got canceled. So I stopped watching. I didn't want to get too invested. It was a good story, but if I knew it was going to keep on going, or let me think it was keep on going, it was mid-season, I would have watched it to the end. But I knew already that they cut it off, and the last story ended on a what do you call it, cliffhanger, and second season didn't answer the cliffhanger, so I wasn't going to do that. Wasn't going to get emotionally involved, I guess. So Afterlife was great. 12 Rings, the Marvel movie, but this Chinese kid, inherits the 12 rings from his father, and it's a pretty dope movie. Is going to be one of the major players and superheroes in the new Marvel universe this next 10 years of what they're going to build. And I enjoyed it. With an Aquafina's in it. She's super funny, like always. And the person who plays the main character, he was great. I didn't like the way he looked at first, I don't know how I want my Asian superheroes to look like. He just didn't, I guess I just want every superhero to be handsome or hot. Because, I don't know. I guess I've been brainwashed in that capacity. But overall, he acted great. And he had a vulnerability to him that made it, that I believe that he came from a dysfunctional family, and his father wasn't there, and he has the 12 rings, and these 12 rings are supposed to be super powerful, so powerful they're from a different dimension. They're almost more powerful than the Infinity Stones, as we're beginning to learn. So, in saying that, let's go on to the next show. So I'll give 3.5 potatoes. Very entertaining for the 12 Rings. Particle Sun. This was a great show. I'm so upset that it didn't happen. It was basically this kid, this profiler, whose father is a serial killer, and basically he has to go to him for certain crimes, ask for his help, but his father's a very manipulative person, and his mother is always saying stay away from him. He constantly has dreams of seeing people, his father kidnapping people and maybe even hurting them. And we're looking at his sister, who's pretty deep, who might have who's a reporter, who might have a little darkness in her. It's definitely a good show, but I am sorry to announce that it was canceled. But I enjoyed Particle Sun. It was really good dive into criminal profiling and psychology and charismatic serial killer that's always one step ahead of everybody. It's really good, like a Hannibal Lecter, which brings me to Clarice. Now, Clarice was a good show. The actress who played Clarice, she had that character down. She sounded like the one from the Silence of the Lamb, played by Jodie Foster. She had that accent down, her mannerism. It was great. But they made some missteps. It's okay to be woke, but you can't be too woke. You can talk about injustices towards black people in that time. Absolutely. But they're writing that Clarice has to, and what was going on, and I'll just tell you frankly, is that they kept on asking Clarice to check her white privilege and do things and say things to help her black colleagues not be discriminated against. And there were so many other ways you can do this without putting the star who we're watching under the bus. I mean, she's like smarter than everybody in the room, smartest cookie. They underestimate her at every step of the way. But when her black colleagues come in, she's bumbling, doesn't have any answers, and she's asked to stole her privilege, and and they throw her under the water, saying that she's like discriminating, and she says they're acting like, hey, just say, you did this because you have white privilege, so I'm gonna say you're discriminating against me. Is that okay? She's like, I guess, since I'm your friend. So it got too woke in some areas, but it was great. He was great on television, and but there was a lot of missteps with it, and it didn't get picked up for the second season, and I was hoping to see it. And we have coming up close right behind Evil. Second season of Evil was great. Evil is a great program. It delves into psychology, spiritualism, religion, and evil. It rides the line, and they are often these three characters that are often trying to judge exorcism and spiritual events, whether they're the practical answer, the Muslim, very smart technical guy who looks for the obvious answers, because there's very little of that in his Muslim religion, and he's more of a what do you call secularist, non-believing. Yeah, so is the girl who plays the psychologist, secular psychologist. She's amazing. I love this actress. She's so pretty. She acts great. Her vulnerability just makes me want to hug and cuddle her. She's awesome. And the character of the priest, the things that he's going in and out of these visions, and through this whole show, we are riding on whether the devil's real or is this all psychological. And they play that, they straddle that line all the way through the first and second season. The second season, just as good. I give 5 potatoes. 5 potatoes for Evil. Definitely watch it. Now, Apple came with their own invasion story, but it's called Invasion, for lack of a better word. And it's done so well. And it's really heavy in character development. You really don't see the aliens at all until like the last 3 episodes. But the character development and the situations are all viable. They're all realistic. You buy them. And to see how humanity reacts is always amazing. I don't want to give this away. It's a very good show, Invasion. It definitely gets 5 potatoes. And then we have Resident Alien. This is a comedy. It is so funny. My whole family is watching it. We love to watch it. We're in the second season, but the first season was amazing. It's about this alien who's supposed to destroy the Earth, and he crashes, and he ends up having to take this identity of a doctor, and he goes into town, and there's always that cultural divide between the alien culture and human culture, and he's just failing at every corner, and people are like, "You're weird," and hijinks and comedy ensues. It is funny. Everybody in this show, I mean, there were some scenes in there that I've almost fainted from laughing. Pretty amazing. I when I'm thinking about it now, I want to laugh. So, for me, I mean, I think for everybody it's like a 4 potato, but for me personally, it's a 5 potato. I mean, watch Resident Alien. It's super funny. I've been watching Superman and Lois, and we've seen Superman, Lois and Clark, and we've seen Smallville, and there's been so many renditions of the Superman. But this one is about Superman later in life, and he has 2 sons, and he thought for a while there that their sons were not going to show any power. So now one of them is, and he may not be, as pure light as Superman is. He has nuance, he's moody, and for lack of a better word, he probably listens to Depeche Mode and wear dark clothes. There might be concerns about his son, so it's very interesting, and I'm enjoying it. It's a different take on Superman and Lois. He has to be a father now, and he sort of has to train his son how to control his powers, while the other son is not showing anything, and he's starting getting ignored. So it's definitely, I'm enjoying it. I'll give it a 3.5 potatoes, possibly 4. We'll see where the second season is going. First season was interesting, but we'll see where the second season is going. Also, I watched a show called Mosquito Coast. This is based off the Harrison Ford movie, Mosquito Coast. It's the same character, but this time they're off the grid and they did something bad, and the FBI is constantly looking for them. But their mother and father are so resourceful, especially the father, because it's that guy who can build like an ice machine in the Amazon jungle. If you watch the movie Mosquito Coast with Harrison Ford, but they try to get out, but they get found out, and they head to Mexico. And on their way to Mexico, they run into some unsavory characters, and they're trying to navigate their way to this special place. I don't know if it's going to be a season 2, but it was very entertaining, very good, very well written. They have problems. They have run-ins with narcos, and they do this trek across the desert. It was super interesting. It's just that father is constantly has an answer for everything, but he's always trying to hide things, and him hiding the truth from his children makes his children act in ways that put them in difficult situations. So it's super interesting. I liked it. I give it 4 potatoes. Now I'm gonna go to these 2 standouts. I'm gonna start with the first one, called Foundations, done by Apple. Now this is very high-end, thoughtful, deep sci-fi. It's humans, thousands of years in the future, and so far that Earth is sort of considered like the Garden of Eden, like some kind of mystery of where we came from, but they don't know where it is. But it doesn't. But Earth doesn't even play that well. All we know is that they're humans, and humans has expanded through the galaxy. And we're seeing this place called the Foundation, where these rulers is constantly genetically and with clones born. So they have the Father Don, I think the Foundation, and Father Dusk. Father Don is like he's like a kid learning from the one that's in charge and the one that is old. And these three, but it's one person clone 3 times, and it's called a genetic dynasty. They keep on rolling them, and they rule the Foundation, the whole. I'm not the Foundation. They rule the whole galaxy, and they're the most powerful entity. And there's other planets filled up by humans that may not like that they're ran by the same people. Constantly being the same person, constantly being cloned. So it's very interesting. And this scientist comes up with a new kind of math that can predict the future, and it predicted the future of the society they live in that's going to die. So they, instead of killing him off and making him a martyr, they sent him to this world to create the Foundation, which will help preserve everything that is needed to keep society going after this gigantic fall that's going to come. And the show is amazing. It goes through generations of these rulers and how they handle it. And, you know, the boy who wants this other clone, make this decision many years later, has to fix that situation and deal with it in a different way. But he saw it as a little boy, but dealing it with as a man, and it's crazy, and it's well written. And if you really want to get to deep sci-fi, watch Foundations. You'll like it. It is created by famed and prolific writer Isaac Asimov, written in the 60s. Pretty much everywhere where we get basic sci-fi ideas, they're often rehashed. His ideas are often rehashed for TV shows. So Foundations is a definitely. If I could give it a 6 potato, but I won't because I just know. In my world, there's no 6 potato, but if there was, I would give it a 6 potato. Foundations by Apple. And last but not least, the show I watched last year that I enjoyed the most was Yellowstone. This was an amazing show. Kevin Costner plays John Dutton. The Yellowstone Ranch was basically, it's a ranch that ran like the mob. And he's the most powerful entity in Wyoming. He's like the police of the cattle. And he gets his way. His kids are crazy. And they got some conflicts with people trying to buy up land and make like hotels and just ruin what they got. This vistas of mountains where cattle roam, and you got the Indians who want their land back, and you got his right-hand man Rip, who's like the most amazing character. No, Rip's awesome. He don't put up with shit. He's the heavy. He is the heavy, and he'll do it. I mean, if you make a wrong step, he will put you in your place. It's an amazing character. Beth Dunham, this character is amazing. She is crazy, rude, and Machiavellian in her business tactics. And then you got Jamie, who's always being picked on. And then you got the brother who came from war, and he has post-traumatic syndrome, and You know, he has no problem killing people. It is an amazing show. I immediately ran through the first 3 seasons. It is fine potatoes all the way. I do not want to ruin it for you. Every moment is exciting. Every episode, you can't believe who's doing what and why they're doing it. Fine potatoes for Yellowstone. So I'm going to end it right there. That's about an hour of yapping. Hour of yapping about TV shows. So my friends, you can follow me on any of the social media platforms. Just type in James Salazar Media. I should come up. If you disagree or if you have your own opinion about these TV shows, put it in an email. I'll read it. I'll be glad to read it. Just go to jamessalazarmedia@gmail.com. So let's call it there. The next one will be headlines from the world of futurism. And we'll clarify a little bit about my predictions for this year. But a lot of things are happening already. So I'll leave you with this. As the storms of life come against you and you find yourself on your knees, stand tall and take a look at that storm. And you say what my sensei Jack Burton always says. Give me your best shot. Strike the music.